and we're back. And we're back with Chantal and the team to talk to you everything about Jaguar Land Rover and undergraduate and graduate opportunities. So we've already had a wealth of questions, which I've got. So they're queued up and lined up. Please ask any more as the session continues. Ask them in the chat box and we will collate them together. This session is being recorded, so if there's been any glitches for anybody, they will be live on the National Graduate Week website in a week or so. But I would like to hand back over to Chantal, who will be talking. Hello, Victor, you're back. Who'll be talking and taking it away from here. So I'm just going to disappear and I'll be back for the Q&A.
Thanks, Heather. So everyone, really appreciate you starting to join back, and apologies for the big technical delay that we've had so far. So just bear with me. I'm just going to get my slides up so we can get back on track to where we were before. So bear with me a second. So we'll try to rattle through things as quickly as possible for you. I appreciate that you probably got scheduled into the diary a certain time to be able to attend today, but I will try and give you as much detail as possible, and hopefully you'll all be able to join us for as long as possible today. So in terms of what I wanted to start off to talk to you about briefly was about our graduate programs available at Jaguar Land Rover. So we have our 2-year graduate programs at Jaguar Land Rover that really do offer the perfect blend of personal and professional development. And it really is a fantastic opportunity for you to network with other graduates and build relationships across our entire business. And as you join the Jaguar Land Rover graduate program, you'll join us on a salary of £29,000 and you'll also receive a joining bonus of £2,000. You'll need to be on track for a 2-2 in a relevant degree subject, which you'll be able to find out more details as you go onto the Jaguar Land Rover website. But we have a range of programs available. So we have programs across engineering, design, in the corporate space, manufacturing, a reimagine Jaguar, which is a new program, and supply chain and logistics. And for those of you as well that are considering undergraduate placements, we do run undergraduate placements that run for 12 months across different areas such as engineering, design, manufacturing, reimagine Jaguar, and our commercial teams. There's a real range of opportunities available if you're a student now looking for a placement, or if you are looking for that graduate scheme and program after you finish your studies at university. So in terms of what I'm going to talk to you a bit about briefly now is just a bit of a description about some of our programs available to you. So in terms of engineering, at Jaguar Land Rover, we're reimagining the future of tomorrow. And our engineers at Jaguar Land Rover are key players in order to achieve this. And we have a range of roles to suit your interest. So we have a couple of different pathways. You can see the 4 listed there. So software, electronic and complex systems, hardware, mechatronics, and propulsion. So our software pathway. So technology is at the heart of our vehicles, and in particular, you know, we are focused on future-focused vehicles that incorporate some of the most advanced technology in everyday use on the planet. So our teams here are utilising software that is essential in ADAS, which is the area that Isabella was talking to you about earlier, infotainment and new electric propulsion. So this is a really, really exciting area of the business to join us in. And if you really are interested in software, I'd definitely take a look at that programme. And that's available for graduates and undergraduates. We then also have our electronic pathway. So our electronic teams, they drive complex electronic systems and components that really enable cutting edge features. And this includes aspects such as quality of life improvements and assisted and automated driving. And these teams here really do get to implement robust design and implementation of complex systems, which really are powered by the electronics that really help provide a positive experience for our customers. You've then also got our hardware and mechatronics pathway. So hardware and mechatronics is essential to create award-winning luxury vehicles here at Jaguar Land Rover. And our team work together to make Jaguar Land Rover different. So this includes our features on our vehicles, such as the vehicle dynamics and our off-road capability at Jaguar Land Rover. And our engineers who work in the hardware and mechatronics space, they focus on everything from mechanical design, integration design and systems engineering. And then finally, you have propulsion. So as you can imagine, reimagining the internal combustion engine is a major part for our teams here at Jaguar Land Rover to focus on. And this team here in particular are exploring the huge potential of electrification that will continue to transform our industry. So for these pathways across engineering, they are really, really exciting roles to go into across all of the board. And these programs are open to graduates and undergraduates. So, if you're looking for a placement or looking for a 2-year graduate program, definitely go and have a look into these ones. We then also have design. So you've got our creative program, where if you were looking to apply for a graduate program here, you might work in our graphic design team, our visualization team, or even our experience and design team. And here, if you were to work in the creative graduate scheme, you'll learn how to deliver 2D and 3D media to deliver products that set our customers' heart racing. You've then got studio modelling as well. So our teams here work to design clay and digital media. And you'll translate concepts into physical, digital models or computer-aided models. So I don't know if any of you have actually saw a clay model, but they are actually so realistic. And a lot of the photos that you'll see of our vehicles online, they could actually be made of clay, which is really, really fascinating when you do come into our business and along this street, which is part of our Gaydon Triangle, you start to see some of the cars that are on show there, which is amazing. And then you've also got our technical program as well. So you might work in one of the following areas if you were to work in the technical space. So that includes working in teams such as our surfacing interior or exterior teams, or even our cubing team. And it will involve aspects such as producing scale models or bringing to life design intent in the exterior or interior. And we've also got one of our graduates as well that is here today that is on the technical program that will be able to talk to you a bit more about that program as well. We also have manufacturing, which, as you can imagine at Jaguar Land Rover, manufacturing is really at the heart of Jaguar Land Rover, and we produce thousands of vehicles every day. And you might get to work in one of the following areas. So manufacturing engineering are the only team that are going to be taking undergraduates and graduates this year. But if you were to work in our manufacturing engineering team, this team in particular are looking to commission and bring more in-house. So they're really looking to upskill our people to really enable us to do things such as producing our own plants, doing things such as installation. And if you're on this programme, you'll focus on things such as facility design. So that might be the design of a new plant, mechanical and electrical engineering, and also the project delivery. So if we were looking to design a new facility, how would you manage that project and make sure that happens efficiently? We've also then got our manufacturing program management team. So here you'll learn how to deliver new programs and vehicles from initial concept all the way to mass production. And in this particular area of the business, you'll be interfacing with so many key stakeholders across the business. So that might include actual contacts that are already in the manufacturing group, or might involve actually working with engineering and quality as well. And just to sum up this one, as I know we're going to run over time today, but we also then, you might go into our special ops teams, and this team are responsible for the most luxury and specialist vehicles. So in terms of you to work in that area, you might work in one of our launch or quality roles. And of course, you've then got the material planning, logistics and the trim and final areas of our business that you might also join as well if you were to apply for our manufacturing graduate programme. We then have our corporate programs as well. So at Jaguar Land Rover, we've got a real range of programs available to you. So you haven't got to be just an engineering fanatic or focused on manufacturing. There is roles out there in the corporate space to help us deliver the fantastic vehicles within our organisation. And one of the particular programs that's really important to us, as you can imagine, is our analytics and digital graduate program. So analytics is set to be, a key source of competitive advantage for Jaguar Land Rover, and it really does help us to create value, drive profitable growth and make efficiencies. So it's a really exciting area of the business. So if you're one of those people that do really enjoy working with data, there's multiple pathways that you could go into. So you could work in our digital team that is specialist for data analytics, or you might even work in one of our functions such as HR in terms of supporting from a people aspect. So I would really say it's a really exciting and interesting area in our business, especially as the data piece is becoming so much more important within our organisation. You've then got our purchasing program as well. So if you were to join us on our purchasing program, you join us in either our supplier technical assistant or our production purchasing team. And our teams here really create value by driving quality, cost delivery, innovation and sustainability. And they work with so many of our suppliers as well to make sure that we do have the best suppliers, that we do have the best quality of products as well coming through. You've then got our IT program as well, and this is a new program that we're running for this year. So if you were to join our IT program, you'd work as a software engineer in our DDC, which is our Digital Delivery Centre, which is based in Manchester, which is a fantastic location. And some of the things that you might get involved in are programming. You might get involved in test-driven development to deliver new features on our products. And you'll also have the opportunities to support the management of a cloud platform using infrastructure such as code. So if you're really into that software engineering space and you are really interested in software, that's another route you could also consider alongside our software engineering route as well. And then we do have our finance and human resources programs as well. So these programs have already opened for applications, have already been so popular and have actually closed. But I would just be demonstrating the call that if there is anybody that is thinking about, a role that seems so far away, but in September 2023, we might have programs in finance available, or even our human resources program as well. So it's one really to make sure that you do come onto our website regularly to check on our new programs and, our opportunities that are available. You've then got supply chain as well. So at Jaguar Land Rover, we have a global network of over 1,000 suppliers. And we've just recently, I was just looking before I joined this webinar, we've just shared some news about implementing blockchain technology in regards to using leather within our supply chain. So if you're interested in the supply chain logistics program, it's one to go and explore, which is the news that's literally just been shared last week. And on this program, you might work with one of the following areas across the supply chain. So supply chain and operations and logistics, our network product and launch teams, or our supply chain planning teams as well. And you might work on aspects such as capacity planning and vehicle scheduling, or even managing complex projects such as defining the objectives, the timing and budgets. So it's a real fantastic area of the business to join us. And we are actually joined by Ollie, who is one of our supply chain logistics graduates as well. So he'll be able to talk you more about his role and his involvement at Jaguar Land Rover. We then have our reimagine program, which is a really new, exciting program, which is only available at the moment to undergraduates, as we've already opened for graduates and it's been extremely popular. But the Reimagine Jaguar program is specific to the Jaguar brand. So as you may be aware, if you follow Jaguar Land Rover, Jaguar is planned to become an all-electric brand. So this makes it a really exciting area of our business to join. And if you were to apply for this program as an undergraduate, with that role being available, you might work in one of the following areas. So our commercial team, who are responsible for marketing, sales and after sales for Jaguar cars, and you'll put the customer at the heart of everything that you do. Or you might even join the strategy and business development team, and they're responsible for the overall strategy, looking at the business opportunities and how to optimise our business and drive efficiencies. And really, the gift for this programme, you'll be really driven to deliver results, but you'll obviously have that enthusiasm for the Jaguar brand. And then finally, I know I've spoken to you a lot about our programs, but I think it's just really beneficial for you to see just the wide range of programs available at Jaguar Land Rover. We also have a number of areas that you could go into if you were to look for a commercial program. So this is our commercial undergraduate program. So this is specific to undergraduates. So if you're looking for a 12-month placement, There are opportunities in the commercial space, which might mean that you work in one of our following teams, such as our marketing teams, our communication teams, commercial, or our supply chain logistics team. And in terms of if you were to work in some of these areas, for instance, if you were to work within our marketing team, you might work in aspects such as creative campaigns or helping with brand events, or you might even work in our communications team, writing press releases and sharing our brand stories. And in terms of if you were to apply for this programme, you would have the option before you got to assessment to, explain which of the particular routes were more of interest to you. But our commercial undergraduates always have such a fantastic experience, and they always have really, really interesting stories that they're able to share as well. So that's all of the information that's available about our programmes. There's so much more on our website to go and explore, which is jaguarlandrovercareers.com. But I just want to talk briefly about, so for those of you that are looking for a graduate programme in particular, one of the things that we mentioned about this webinar was that at Jaguar Land Rover, our graduate programmes in particular are not only specific to your professional development, but it's also focused on that personal development in order to really provide you with the perfect blend. So in terms of, as you can see on the screen here, apologies, it's a little bit blurry, but I'll try and give you a bit of a description there. Across the 2-year programme and the graduate scheme, you would get involved in a number of different activities involved. So you'll be building your core and essential skills. So that might be aspects such as self-management, business techniques, and learning new business skills. And then also in the second year, you get involved in something called the Graduate Innovation Challenge, where our graduates basically are able to work together in a group and really just design some of the most innovative solutions in terms of how we might change something in our vehicle, and actually that thing could actually be implemented at a later stage. We also then have placement opportunities. So there is a chance that you would go onto the manufacturing line for a minimum of 2 weeks, where you actually get to work on the manufacturing line and experience what it's like to make our vehicles. And as I mentioned before, I was a graduate at Jaguar Land Rover, and I actually found my manufacturing placement was one of the best things that I did at Jaguar Land Rover. I think it was just a fantastic opportunity to work with individuals that are manufacturing our cars daily and really understand what's involved. And there's also, in terms of placement opportunities, lots of our programmes as well do have rotations across the programmes as well, which really does help you to build on your personal skills, but also that professional knowledge. So say if you were working on the engineering programme, to make sure that you were the best engineer possible. And then we also have a competency framework for graduates as well. So along the 2-year graduate programme, you'd be working alongside that journey in terms of recording all of the learning that you've done to support that graduate framework. If you're an undergraduate Jaguar Land Rover, because our placements are slightly shorter, you are supported by your areas to build all the necessary skills for your role in particular, and you'll have all of the support of your management and our teams as well within the HR space to support you, to provide you with additional opportunities to get involved in activities for your development, but also to make sure you've got all of those necessary skills as well to actually complete your role successfully. So just aware of time, everybody, what I'm probably going to do is, we were planning to have a graduate Q&A panel. We will go back to that in a second, but what I'll do is I'll just talk you briefly through the application and assessment process for you, and then we'll go into the graduate Q&A panel, and then later on we'll be able to cover off some of your questions. So thank you everybody for staying with us. I know this was meant to end at 2 o'clock, but we really, really appreciate you staying with us today, and hopefully this webinar is really interesting to you as well. So in terms of for anybody in the call that is thinking, wow, those programs seem fantastic and Jaguar Land Rover is one of the options I'd like to apply for, just now a bit about our recruitment process at Jaguar Land Rover. So if you're thinking of applying, the best thing to do is visit jaguarlandrovercareers.com, and all of our information, so if you're doing the application, is online. So what you go and do is you find the program that interests you the most. You complete your online application by telling us all about your background, and then you'll be screened on meeting the entry requirements for the program. If you're then successful for the program, you might also then be asked then to do online tests. So online tests involve things such as situational judgment test, verbal test, numerical test, and you could do lots of practice tests online for that. If you were successful in the testing, we might also then invite you to the next stage of our process, which is a virtual technical presentation assessment. So those are starting to begin now in the coming weeks. And here we'll be looking for you to demonstrate your technical knowledge. And ahead of your assessment, what you'll be provided with is a brief to help you prepared. So you have around about a week or so to actually prepare for your presentation. It won't be that you've got to prepare your presentation on the day. We really want to provide you with as much time as possible to really dig into that technical presentation, which you'll then send back over to our team, who will review that at the same time. You'll then go, if you're successful in the virtual technical presentation, you will then move through to our face-to-face assessments, and these will start to run from November onwards for graduates and undergraduates. And if you were to attend our face-to-face assessments, these are planned to take place at our Gaydon facility, but you'll sit a number of assessments which might include a motivational and behavioural interview. And obviously, if you impress us in there, what we'll do is we're looking to make you an offer. We'll give you a call afterwards and we'll confirm it in writing via email. You can see there just a note at the bottom, the design process is slightly different. So if you were to apply for our design programs, the portfolio is really important that you submit. And online on our website, it gives you some more details about what we'd be expecting for that portfolio piece as well. And then you'd move through to face-to-face assessment for the design program. So what I would do is when you go onto the website, you can see specifically what the recruitment process will be there. But if you've got any questions in advance, you can always reach out to our teams as well. In terms of some hints and tips then for the application stage is make sure that you reread your application to ensure there's no errors. I think often what we get at Jaguar Land Rover is there's open text questions that are asked within your application, and a lot of people might just put one word or a sentence, which might be a question to why do you want to work at Jaguar Land Rover? And here we're really looking for, individuals that really want to work at Jaguar Land Rover, and you'd be putting a bit more detail into that box to say these are all the different reasons, etc. And maybe if we've asked you before, what might be the preference area that you'd want to go into. So say if you're applying for our commercial undergraduate programme, we might have asked you to specify where your interest would lie. I'd also mention to apply as soon as possible. So even though our applications on our website will say that we're going to open all the way to December, our programs are actually really, really popular. So if you're a graduate sitting there thinking, oh, I've got weeks to apply for a program, or even an undergraduate, you're thinking, oh, I've got so many weeks to apply, I'd really advise you to apply as soon as possible, because as soon as we get enough applications, we can start to close those programs sooner. So don't just have in your mind that December date. Have in your mind that if you're really, really keen and committed to apply for Jaguar Land Rover, start to get those applications in now. Make sure you fill in all the application fields as well. So make sure you are, as I mentioned, really utilising those free text questions. Don't just put a full stop in those boxes, for instance. Make sure that you're filling in all the necessary information and filling in all the right drop downs. I think a really important factor is to research Jaguar Land Rover and the wider industry, because when you move through to the assessments, etc., we are going to be looking for more about your understanding in terms of what Jaguar Land Rover are doing and the wider industry. And I'd also advise you, do online practice tests before doing the real thing. There's so much that you can Google online for numerical and verbal tests. It's a real opportunity for you to do some practice testing in advance to see how you get on and just see the different type of questions that you might be asked. And a really important one there at the bottom is you'll only be able to apply for one program at Jaguar Land Rover. So you can't apply for, say if you were looking at engineering, you can't apply for software and the electronics and complex systems route. You have to pick one of the routes that you think is best for you. So make sure that you read the information on the website and the job profiles to really identify what's the best and right fit for you. As you move through then as well, so what about if you do get to that assessment stage? So as I mentioned, for a lot of you, the virtual presentation stage will be the first stage for you from an assessment perspective. So if you're from going to more of a technical role, such as our engineering or manufacturing teams, the virtual presentation will really start to ask you about project work, so to really demonstrate your technical ability. So you might start to think about projects that you've done at university, projects that you might have done through work, or even your hobbies that really help to demonstrate your technical knowledge and capability. For anybody looking at applying for our corporate programs in particular, the virtual presentation will run slightly differently. It'll be more around questions or scenario-based activities that really require you to do your research around Jaguar Land Rover and the wider industry. A really important factor there is research our new reimagine strategy. It will come into context when we are doing our assessment stages. So make sure you go onto the website and review the reimagine strategy. And that is where Thierry has spoken about all of the elements of Jaguar Land Rover and what the future is going to look like for us. So really go and have a look at that if you're looking to apply for our roles. Before you go to the assessment stage, you'll be indicated what the behaviours are. So, make sure that you understand what those behaviours are. Provide examples of how you think, right, this is a specific behaviour at Jaguar Land Rover. This is an example that might work to demonstrate my teamwork, for instance. Also, some hints and tips there as well is make sure you arrive in plenty of time. So whether that's you're going to do a face-to-face assessment or whether you're doing it virtually as well, make sure you plan that time in. So if you're doing it virtually, make sure you've had time to test your technology. And if you're attending face-to-face, make sure you've mapped out your journey. We know there's lots of things which travel, when you're going on a train, also that there might be delays. So just check that travel time, because it's one thing that you don't want to be super stressed or so on the day. And I think the key thing, everybody, is remember that an assessment is an opportunity for you to find out about Jaguar Land Rover and ask us questions, because the assessment is as much about us finding out whether you're the right fit for us. It's really about you finding out if Jaguar Land Rover is the right fit for you, because you'll go to interviews, you'll start to find out more about a company. You might think, oh, actually that company's not for me, and that's okay. So I think when you go to an assessment, really start to think about those questions you want to ask, because it really is your opportunity to find out if Jaguar Land Rover or a company that you're applying for is really for you. So that's just a really quick overview, everyone, of all of the different programs that we have and all of the different assessment and application hints and tips, etc., that I've got for you from a recruitment perspective. But now what I want to run back into for you is actually the opportunity for you to hear from some of our graduates that are on programme or have been on programme previously. So what I'm going to move into now is move back actually to our graduate Q&A panel session. So who we've got today for you, we've got Ray, who's a design graduate on our technical route. We've got Ollie, who's a supply chain graduate, and we've also got Emily. So Emily was a past engineering graduate who recently came off scheme just around a month ago or so. So I'm going to ask those a couple of questions, and what we'll do, we'll move into your questions as well for you. So I'm just going to stop sharing my slides now, and now I'm going to put my camera on. So I don't know if we've got Ray, Emily and Ollie, if you want to put your cameras on, and we can do this as a bit more of a Q&A session. Hopefully that will give you all a bit of a mix of the session, really, everybody. Appreciate you've listened to me so much, but now you've got the opportunity to hear from our people actually on programme. So I've got a couple of questions I'm going to ask you. Then aware there's probably lots of questions that Heather's probably got as well in the chat that everybody wants covered as well. So I think one of the key things that I think would be interesting is just to talk us through a bit more about your role and what your day-to-day activity involves. So Ray, I'm going to go first to you for that question. You're on mute, Matt, Ray.
Apologies, is that better?
Yes, that's better, Ray.
Awesome. Hi everyone, I'm Ray. So I'm a design technical graduate. I work in the design department and I'm working as a servicing engineer. So day-to-day activities for me involve basically we work with designers and engineers to bring feasibility to our projects. And day-to-day activities for me involve like a lot of 3D modeling and surfacing and ensuring we preserve the design intent for our products as we move into manufacturing.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ray. That's brilliant. And Ollie, can I go to you next?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Ollie. I'm on the supply chain graduate scheme. I also did the undergraduate placement year as well. So I currently work in new product and launch planning. And my role in general, what we do is we look at project management for logistics, and we look at the launches of the new cars and the new car models across all of Jaguar Land Rover's plants, and that could be sort of planning several years in the future.
Brilliant. No, it's a really, really great overview there, Ollie. And then we've got Emily. So I know, Emily, you're obviously a past graduate that's been on programme. You've just came off programme around about a month or so ago. But it'd be a good idea, because I think you've returned back to a similar home team and role that you originally started with at Jaguar Land Rover in your graduate programme, just to talk to us about maybe a bit about what your role was then and whether it's still the same as you've come off programme. Give us a bit of detail about that.
Yeah, hi everyone. So yeah, like Chantel says, I was on the product engineering grad scheme, and my home team is a team called Interior Body Innovation, and we're based in the research department at JLR. And yeah, I was one of the graduates who decided to return to that home team after I'd gone off and done placements in different areas around the business. So I did a placement in vehicle integration and sustainability. I worked at some of the manufacturing sites doing launch on our vehicles, so getting like lots of different experience from different areas of the business. And now I've returned back to my home team, where we basically design new customer focused features for the vehicle. So we take it through the whole design process, from either getting customer feedback about something on the vehicle or taking new user research. We come up with new concepts through like workshops and other kind of prototyping activities. Then we'll refine those concepts and hopefully come up with something that has a good enough business case and a customer use case that we can get on our future vehicles.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emily. And I think it was just really interesting there to hear about the different rotations that you went on as part of your graduate programme as well, because that is one of the fantastic opportunities at Jaguar Land Rover, is that you will get to work in different teams here. That means that you do just get to build your knowledge. And, you know, as I mentioned before about being on the engineering program, really helps you to be the best possible engineer that you can possibly be. So I think one of the next questions that I'd just like to ask you about, which I think a lot of people on the call will probably be quite interested in, is that at Jaguar Land Rover, we're looking for groundbreaking graduates to join us. And we're looking, you know, groundbreaking graduates means that you're going to get to work on some fantastic projects. You're going to design some new innovative solutions for us. So one of the things that I'd be interested to just talk about briefly is about some of the projects that you've worked on your graduate programme. So firstly, I'll go to you, Ollie, for that piece.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, my role is, you know, it's not an engineering role, it's not a design role. But in my job role, I get to work with a lot of different stakeholders. But one of the projects that I've been working on is, so currently what I do is I work closely with the production plant that Jaguar Land Rover has out in Slovakia. And part of my job role involves making sure that when a new car model comes along, that we have pallets or stillages ready for parts to be shipped in, because we have our suppliers and we have the JLR production facilities. But to get those parts from the suppliers to JLR, we need our pallets. And it's been really exciting recently because we've started to do some in-house engineering of our pallets and stillages. So it's come back into JLR, and it's been really exciting to see the new facility we've got over here in the UK to do that. I've been involved in making sure that, you know, if we've got an increase in a part size, for example, because it's a new car, what we'll do is we'll speak to our in-house production team. They'll produce a pallet for us, and we'll trial the parts in to make sure it fits, because generally we'll have these special pallets for parts that are slightly larger, for example, that you couldn't just put in a box for transportation. And it's a really critical part, I think, of my job role, because, you know, we've got our fantastic production facilities, we've got our fantastic set of suppliers, but there is that need for the logistics of getting them from the supplier to the production facility. And if you don't have your pallets, you haven't got your parts and you haven't got your cars. And I didn't really realise that till I joined the business. It's been really exciting, and it's been a really good project for me to get involved with, and, you know, see more of a manufacturing engineering side of things. And that's one of the things I love about my job. I get to work with all different kinds of people. You know, I'm not an engineer by trade, but I've started to understand a bit more about the engineering. So yeah, it's been a really exciting project to work on.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ollie. I think that's definitely what you mentioned as well, is that, you know, even if you're not an engineer, I'm definitely not an engineer by trade, but you actually do start to learn so much about the vehicles, so much about our processes as well, which is really interesting. When I think, you know, it's probably really interesting for engineers, but I think it's super extra interesting for us where, you know, we don't have the technical knowledge initially, but we get to find out more about how things work at Jaguar Land Rover. So I'm just going to pose that question now to Emily as well, because I think you've been doing some work in the sustainability space also, which you mentioned to me previously.
Yeah, so obviously in my home team, we're doing kind of innovation projects, like I said, kind of developing new features. But one of my placements was I did 4 or 5 months in the sustainability team. And obviously JLR has made a lot of sustainability commitments, and we're moving in a much more sustainable direction, not just in terms of trying to cut the emissions of our vehicles, but also in the materials and technologies we're using for all our other components. So while I was on placement, I was sustainability, they call it a PAT leader, but basically just meant that I was in that time responsible for the sustainability attribute with regards to all cabin components. So cabin components are like your carpets, your door, your headliner, and the door pillars. And I was working with people from the cabin team, sustainability and research to basically map out going forward over the next 15, 20, 30 years what materials we're going to be moving to and what new technologies and processes we can implement to make all of those cabin components more sustainable, whether that means they're lighter or using more recycled content or using entirely different, more like bio-based materials as well. So that was a really exciting project to kind of get to take charge of and actually be responsible for mapping out what that journey is going to look like over the next couple of decades.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emily. And I think that seems like a really, really fascinating area of the business that you got to explore. And as you mentioned there, that sustainability point, that is something that we are really, really focusing on at Jaguar Land Rover as well, isn't it? That it's becoming ever more important to considering multiple factors in regards of what team you're based in as well. So I'm just going to pose that question to Ray then, just to talk about, you know, a project that you've worked on at all, Ray, that you'd like to share.
Sure. So one of the recent projects I've been able to work on was it's called a mock click device, and it basically, the acronym stands for mitigating occupants locked in cars. Now there seems to be like a large number of people around the world being locked in cars, and sometimes this can result in casualties. So moving forward, new legislation says future vehicles need to have this sensor device. And it's basically aimed at picking up, it's basically a motion sensor which detects occupants locked in vehicles. So I was actually given the responsibility to do the final surfacing on that device. So for me to be able to take lead of that project and take it from after the concept stage through to the feasibility stage, and then pass it on to our engineers for them to assess the manufacturability. Like, I thought that was great. I'm really proud of that responsibility.
Thanks, Ryan. I think that's what you've mentioned there. That is such a fantastic project that, you know, some people might not expect that a graduate would have the responsibility to do that. But, you know, all of the projects that all three of you have been able to work on, you know, are really, really big, meaty projects that you're getting to work on. And it is really exciting, some of the things that you get to get involved in, whether that is something so brand new, Ray, that you're looking at there and actually being the lead for that. It's fantastic. So, Heather, I'm just conscious of time, and there's probably lots of questions. We had more questions we wanted to run through, but I'm sure there's lots of questions that Emily, Ray, or Ollie, you know, will be sure to answer for everyone as well.
Absolutely, I've had loads coming in. Some of them are quite specific, others not so much. There's a few overarching ones. I'll start with a question that Tom and Partha asked that's quite similar. They said, what locations are graduate roles available at? And do you help with relocating? And students from which countries are eligible for your programs?
So I think in terms of our graduate roles are based across multiple sites, really. So you've got a lot of the roles that are based across the West Midlands, which might be our Gaydon facility, our Solihull facility, our Whitley facility, Castle Bromwich, for instance. We do have opportunities that are available in Manchester, which I spoke about before earlier. And we do also have some roles that are based in Ireland as well. I think in terms of for students that are asking the questions about the international space also, I think there are specific things obviously from a visa perspective also. So say, I don't know if you're a graduate or an undergraduate, unfortunately, but if you're a graduate, we'd bring all graduates requiring visas onto the programme on a skilled worker visa. That's what we'd be looking to do at Jaguar Land Rover. So we wouldn't be requesting our graduates to go and get the GIR, which is the graduate immigration route visa. We'd be looking to support the visa from our side. I think if there's a specific question about visas also, or being an international student, it might be case by case basis or some more detail. I'd recommend that if you've got a specific area that you'd like to ask us about, if you write to graduate@jaguarlandrover.com, they'll be able to advise you from an international student's perspective whether you've got the right type of visa, say from an undergraduate perspective, or what the process would be from a graduate, because it could be so varied.
Wonderful. Brilliant. I had a question from Kaylin, who unfortunately had to leave us, but I did say that we would ask and it would be available on demand for her to see. So her question was, I'm a female studying mechanical engineering. I would love to hear how JLR female engineering graduates find their course. I'd like to know how these graduates on the programme find the transition from uni to JLR.
Emily, do you want to answer that question?
I feel like that one might be for me. Yep. Yeah, so I actually did an undergraduate placement first, and then came back onto the grad scheme after that. So I, in terms of like finding your way, I guess both professionally and personally, I was quite lucky that I made quite a lot of good female friends on that undergraduate placement, who a lot of them came back on my return as well, and I live with one of them, and like a lot of them are still my good friends that I made on the undergraduate scheme. In terms of actual, like in the workplace, I have been lucky that I've had a female manager who is a great role model for me personally, and I also had a female mentor in my team, who have both been great in supporting me. But that's not to say that if you only had a male manager or a male mentor, you wouldn't also have that support. I think that women are being championed across JLR. We have a Women in Engineering network, which is really sort of trying to bring women across the business together for networking opportunities. I'm part of that committee just now, and we're running events and lunch and learns and conferences. So there's definitely lots of opportunities to seek out people to build your network and make connections across the business with senior female engineers as well. And like I say, your manager and your mentors are interested in your personal development. So it's about you as an individual as well as you as a female engineer. And if you have a good supportive manager and a supportive team, I think that it's what you make of it and how you can succeed regardless, I would say.
Brilliant. Okay. Lucy asked, I'm coming from the background from completing a PhD in materials engineering. Would I still be suitable to apply for the graduate scheme?
So I think in terms of, you can have a look at graduate programs that are suitable to you, but I think also as well on your level, you might actually want to consider whether an experienced hire role might be suitable to you as well. I think there's lots of roles available at Jaguar Land Rover where you can look at, is a graduate program the right route for me? Is there a suitable program for me? Or actually, with your experience and knowledge, you might find that you go onto the website, look at all the roles that are available at Jaguar Land Rover, and find a role in the experience space that might be suited to you. So I'd say have a look at both to see what might be more of interest to you.
Okay. There's another question around progression, actually. Kelly asked, what progression are available to graduates? Are there opportunities to work abroad?
So I don't know, do any of the graduates want to take that question, or?
I can kind of answer about working abroad.
There we go, Ollie, we'll let you take that one.
Don't quote me on it, though. No, so obviously, pre-pandemic, things were very different in terms of international travel for both businesses and personal reasons as well. But generally, there is an opportunity to go abroad. There certainly was pre-pandemic anyway. I know that I joined during the pandemic, and working for a team that is aligned with the Slovakia plant. I know that my team are out there quite a lot out in Slovakia, out there on plant, getting involved. But I think at the moment there are obviously still travel restrictions in place, and I don't know what will happen in the future, but you know, I think depending on what role you work in, if you're working with any of the international plants, there'll be more opportunity there to be able to go out and do some traveling. But as I say, the policy is changing all the time, so everything is subject to change. But yeah, I'm certainly hoping that I'll be able to get abroad out to the Slovakia plant soon.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Ollie.
So I think we have more than one Victor with us. So this may be the same person, maybe not, but I will ask a couple of questions. They're quite similar in terms of theme. So here we are. After sending an online application, how many days will I have to complete the psychometric test? And can you share tips on what's essential to display during assessment or technical presentation for the graduate role?
Yep, so in terms of from the online testing stage, you'll have 7 days to complete your online test within. I think in terms of from a technical or in the assessment process also, I think one of the key things is obviously make sure that you've done your research to understand Jaguar Land Rover as an organisation in particular. So as I mentioned before, our reimagine strategy was released a couple of months ago. So I'd go and investigate that strategy because that will help you to understand the future direction of Jaguar Land Rover and some of the things that are to come in the future. But I'd also say start to explore some of the wider industry as well. So what is going on within the automotive space also, because you might then find that there's something, you know, additional that's going on from, say, a legislative piece or so that, you know, Jaguar Land Rover is going to have to make sure we adhere to in a couple of years' time or so. And, you know, seeing how Jaguar Land Rover is supporting that journey. So I'd say make sure you do your research on Jaguar Land Rover, make sure you do your research on the wider industry. But I'd also do as well, I think what's really useful is if you are applying for a role on Jaguar Land Rover, is take a copy of the website information that's there and take a copy of the job profile as well, because it means then you can go back, read through that again and think, what were the expectations of what they were looking for this graduate or undergraduate? These are the type of things they were looking for. These are the type of activities they're wanting somebody to be involved in. We really want to know that you've got an understanding of the programme and the role that you're going to pursue as well. So I'd recommend just saving those. If you've done an application, put that somewhere in your document so you can refer back to it at a later date.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, we've got Holly, Jack and Ryan who asked questions around to the graduates. Did you always want to work in this industry? What made you want to apply with JLR? And also asking around what the training and support is like, and another question to add to it, what skills do you think you have most improved on after working there?
So anyone want to yeah, no, you're probably all sitting there.
I think I've just done too much there.
I can go first. So I probably would never have called myself a car person. I'm probably still not really like a car person. But I think in a lot of ways I've still been able to excel at Jaguar Land Rover. And I think kind of linking to what you're saying, Chantel, about doing well in the assessment centre. Yes, I think it's really important to do your research on the company, but also if you're not really into cars, you can still link that to the things that you are passionate about and like your transferable skills and like your other interests. And I found like my space in the company in a team where I'm designing features like in a very customer focused way, and that's a big thing that JLR do, and that's something that I was really passionate about regardless of what industry I ended up in, like making things better to use for the people that use them. So that would be my response to that first question. And then what were the other ones? What skills I've built?
Yeah, so what's the training and support like for you, and what do you think you've most improved on after working at JLR?
Yeah, so I think the training and support is good. Having the flexibility of the different placements and getting to go around and like really build your like on the job experience is like completely like so valuable. And I think, to be honest, I've really, in terms of skills, I've really noticed a change in just my general engineering knowledge. Like I've grown so much from being on the grad scheme, and I definitely feel after the 2 years just that I am a far more competent and like well-rounded engineer in general after like having the opportunity to go around different places. Particularly during the pandemic, when we were really forced to adapt, I had to take over a lead engineer role for a short period of time, which was really, really challenging. But I actually came out the other side of that feeling so much more confident, and it had like been a real test of my skills, and kind of proved to myself that I was actually quite good at what I was doing. So I think that having all the different placements and different rotations gives you all those opportunities to build your knowledge, but also kind of test your knowledge and sort of prove to yourself that you're learning as you go.
Brilliant. Okay. I've got a couple more questions. I think that I'll ask these, and then if anybody wants to just, who's here, hello still, keep on asking questions. We can probably wrap up in the next 5 or 10 minutes. So anything you want to ask that hasn't been covered, do now. I have a question. There's been a theme around, can you apply if you don't have a specific degree that matches the programme? So, for example, Anka has a building and construction background and a Masters of Architecture. They would like to know, could they apply and more than to two paths? Or, for example, Victor is asking about whether he can apply to, I think, mechanical engineering when he's studying product engineering, I think is the question. So yeah, it's around, can you apply if you don't have a directly related degree?
So in terms of on our website, for some of the roles in particular and some of our programs, we do have very specific types of degrees that we are looking for, as you can imagine. Some of our programs, though, will accept any degree discipline. So I think what it's about exploring on the website is going to have a look through and see, right, I want to work in engineering. What type of qualifications do I need for engineering? Because when we've got the 4 pathways for engineering, say if you were doing software versus if you wanted to apply for hardware and mechatronics, actually the qualifications we're looking for might slightly vary, because we might be looking for more computer science based for instance, for the software, whereas hardware and mechatronics, we might be able to any degree discipline. But I think it's about going onto the website, exploring the programs, because some are very, very specific. Some will have any degree discipline. So it's about finding, is there a program that say, you can't fit into the engineering role, but you might be able to go into another degree another program that allows any degree discipline. About finding if there's something right there for you, but it's worth just checking the website and seeing. And if you've got anything where you think it's got a potential link or so to that subject, you can email our graduate@jaguarlandrover.com email address to find out, would we accept that subject?
Can you give me that address again? Because Victor's just asked he's just putting a few specifics in the chat, and it would be really helpful for me to just share that email.
Yeah.
Did you say it was Chantal?
Do you want me to type it into the chat?
Oh yeah, if you can do that, that would be great. And while you're doing that, I think we can round on a really lovely question from Kelly. And she says, can you describe the culture at JLR? And I think from my side, if everybody could maybe just answer in a sentence or two, that would be really helpful, just to hear what everybody's got to say.
Shall I say who to go first? Ray, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. For me, like everyone's like really welcoming. You know what I mean? Like this company is really accommodating, and I think there is like a major push on like diversity and inclusion, which is a plus for everyone. And it's like there's a mutual respect between everyone, and I couldn't really ask for anything more. You know what I mean? Like it's a great company to work for, and you're at home sometimes when you're here. Like it is a great environment, and yeah, lovely people. It's great. Like when I joined, I was supplied with like a mentor and a buddy, and you got a great line manager, and it's like there's not a question you can ask which isn't answered. So it is great. And I guess the jump from university to industry is massive, and there is that understanding here, and you're able to work at your own pace, and it's great. I really do love it here.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ray. How about we go to Ollie next for that question?
For me, the culture it's a really supportive one. Especially in my team, everybody wants to help me develop, because whilst you're on the graduate scheme, it's all about preparing you for going into that role at the end of it, a permanent role, and everybody wants to help you develop. Everybody wants to help you to learn, and you know, there's never a stupid question. There's never no, I won't help you. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to answer questions, and for me, that's all I could really ask for in a company. And JLR certainly do that. It's so supportive.
Brilliant, thanks, Ollie. And then Emily.
Yeah, I would agree with what Ray and Ollie have both said in terms of support, particularly from like your manager and your mentor for your personal development. And I would also say it's a very like becoming more and more like a collaborative culture. Like a lot of what I do is like cross-functional and like working with lots of different stakeholders from different teams. And I think if you get the right team around you, it really does feel like you're all working towards a common goal, which is like getting out the best car that we can make. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Brilliant. Well, that's been pretty much the summary of the questions. It's been really busy on the chat facility. Guys, I don't know whether there's anything else that you wanted to just finish on, but from my side, I would like to just say thank you for everybody involved. Thank you for everybody that's joined us. This will all be live on demand, probably week after next now. But I think that your answers have been brilliant. I think it's been a great session. I'll just pass over to you just for kind of a closing paragraph, if that's all right.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, as Heather said there, I just want to say a really big thank you to all of the team today that supported to pull this webinar session together. And a big thank you to all of you who have rejoined us back after a bit of our technical hitch earlier today. But I think, you know, the point of this session here today was really to celebrate the graduate market, to celebrate, you know, our individuals that are students, to celebrate our individuals that are graduates looking for roles also. We know that it is a really tough time in the market also, considering we've had things such as COVID also has really impacted students also. So it's just to say, keep going. There are opportunities out there for you. Keep exploring, keep working on your own development. But, you know, we do really hope to see that we will have some of you that have joined this webinar today actually thinking to go and apply for Jaguar Land Rover, because I hope today we've really inspired you. You've got to hear from some of our fantastic individuals, so Emily, Ray and Ollie, who have really shared their fantastic experiences of being on programme at Jaguar Land Rover. So I hope that's inspired you, and I hope you've been able to get your questions answered today. But if there's anything that you've not been able to cover in today's session, you know, you go away and you think, oh, I've got another question I'd like to ask, email our inbox, which is graduate@jaguarlandrover.com, which I posted in here, you know, and the team will get back to you. But a big thank you for joining the webinar today. Hope you all have a fantastic week, and as we mentioned, you know, we really do hope to see some of you joining us in the coming months.
Absolutely. Well, thank you once again to the team. Thank you to everybody that's joined us. This is National Graduate Week 2021. And here for the rest of the week. So I will sign out now, and thank you again, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.